Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. I actually wanted to spend the time to talk about vulnerability. You know, I've been getting a couple of emails that honestly, they touch my heart and also break my heart at the same time. And I wanted to actually kind of spend some time talking about this. And it actually kind of was inspired by, finally watched the movie A Star is Born. Don't worry, I'm not going to give away any of the plot secrets by all means, but I got to tell you, I was really moved, like literally very moved. I will admit, I did get teary-eyed when she first gets on stage, but I promise I'm not going to say anything else to kind of give anything away, but it always makes me smile, you know, when anyone gets pushed a little or a lot out of their comfort zone and, you know, success really happens. And we do get that level of fear because it's not controllable and it is scary. And I kind of got scared when I was first going to put out this podcast. And look, it's now a year later and I still kind of have to pinch myself that we've been doing this and that people are out there listening. And I love that. And thank you so much for the support and kindness. But, you know, ultimately, I've been a management consultant for way too many years. So what did I truly know about podcasting when I started this? I didn't have the background in broadcasting, and I even had a few friends that think I was weird. They were naysayers, basically. But I didn't care. The reason why I didn't care was it was just on one of those list of things to do that I was curious about and I wanted to try. Just like when I moved to England, you know, for a few years, it was always one of my dreams to live abroad so I could travel the world. And for me to have the funny accent for once, you know, there's just some things I get an appetite that I always wanted to kind of do and try. And I do think about my bucket list about, you know, what would I want to say to myself? Or what do I want to say to my nieces and my nephew that, you know, why should they always have the courage to try? So I always think about these things. Now, the reason why I'm kind of having this bit of a heart-to-heart and I wanted to talk about this topic is because some of the emails that I got, like I said, they touch me really hard, and some of them actually they move my heart, and some of them do make me cry. And, you know, one of the couple of messages I got was that I was brave and they wish they could be like me and just kind of get out of their own way and try something new. And, you know, that's why I put on that episode regarding mindset with Ariel, and I'm trying to find the right experts that can really talk to us about these things, because these topics are really real. And I'm going to share a story with that one of our listeners shared with me. And again, I'm going to leave her anonymous because, one, I really thank her for opening up with me, and I really appreciate that. And like I said, I love all messages I get. But this one listener told me that she felt like the walking zombie and on autopilot, and that she's just lost the ability to even dream. She doesn't even remember the last time she actually had a dream. And she can't even remember never mind dreaming. She doesn't even know what she's curious about or what her interests are. She's saying that her taste buds, you know, have become quite bland. You know, there's just no flavor to things. And it kind of really, like I said, it touched my heart. But it touched my heart for a couple of reasons. The first one being that I get that. I've actually been there. In fact, many of my close friends will remember there were periods of time where I basically just disappeared into a cave because I was on autopilot. I wasn't even on cruise control. I was literally on autopilot. I honestly was just doing the movements. I could do I was working 24 hours a day. I was definitely a workaholic, that's for sure. I was sleepless. I was traveling nonstop. I don't even know what I even ate half the time. Whenever there was food available, I just took it. I was just trying to make magic things happen for my clients and the company I was working for. And I just didn't pay attention to the other stuff around me, my relationships, my friendships, my family, what was kind of going on, because I was just like that deep into it. So I literally disappeared and I almost became a shadow. And in fact, I remember there was one day, and this was actually in South Africa, where I looked in the mirror and I just didn't recognize myself. Like I don't even know who that ghost was that was staring at me. So I totally get what this listener was talking about and what she was feeling, because I've been there and it's hard. And trying to find a small step to make change is hard when you're in this place. So, what I thought was I will talk about a couple of things, because I've definitely learned from a lot of amazing people that are doing some really cool things in the innovation space. But, let's recognize that, that's fear and being scared and nervous is okay. And it's normal. We all go through those kind of lumps. And in fact, we kind of need to go through those low periods in order to appreciate those high periods. And let's be on that fact, because that's how we know we are feeling and we can touch things and see things a little bit differently. But I am here to tell you that it's fixable and it's changeable, and our mind creates more barriers than it needs to be. So I thought I would come up with a couple of things that I've used in the past, but more importantly, some things that I've seen in the marketplace and some research that I've seen that have that helped me really get through my hump. And as I was trying to discover what I was going to do next, and this is before I even left the corporate world to become a podcaster, accordingly to some of my friends. I think one of the things that I find fascinating is about shows that really get people out of that comfort zone. So, for example, I know you guys probably know this. I am a huge Gordon Ramsay fan. In fact, I downloaded his app of this cooking show, and it's really like, Diner Dash, and you get to prepare meals, and it's just fun. But anyways, what I love about, Gordon Ramsay's cooking shows, I'm talking about from Hell's Kitchen to MasterChef, you name it, I love it, is that not because I have the passion for cooking. Let's just be very clear. I'm pretty good in the kitchen, but not like these guys. Let's be very clear. But I am a foodie, and I do have a passion for eating, so I will confess to that. However, these home chefs that come into the kitchen, they really get pushed to that limit, right? Like, they get this timer, they get foods that they've never seen, they get spices that they've never tried. There's just so much pressure on their show. Actually, my youngest sister does not understand why I actually enjoy this level of anxiety, because she actually feels anxious for the participants in it. But what I love about the show is that, everybody comes with a certain level of experience and expertise and a certain spice rack that they've been using all this time. And so they're a really great, amazing baker, but they all get forced to try something new. And some of them really do fail and actually won't because they won't get out of their comfort zone. They won't take that leap to kind of get out of that comfort zone. So they are busy playing safe to chase the money, because there is that $250,000 prize and a book deal at the end or whatever it is. And instead, they should be chasing that culinary adventure where they get to try new things out and see what they can do and see what kind of magic they can create. See, I told you, I've watched way too many episodes beyond belief. So what I'm going to say is, let's talk about vulnerability, and I'm going to call it, let's make it our culinary adventure, because I do have some really goodies to share. The first part of the journey I'm going to talk about is about why you should be vulnerable and, what does it actually mean itself. But part 2 of the little tale I'm going to tell you is about how vulnerability actually is a source of strength itself. And part 3, I'm going to talk about what to be vulnerable in. And hopefully this will help, and hopefully you guys will get some value from it. Because I really did think, not just this listener, but I thought about some other people in my life that are really close to me, and I can see that they want to take the leap, but they're not sure how. So this is for everybody out there, including myself, to remind me of some things. So what is and why should I be vulnerable? Okay, I can give you a real big heartfelt speech about how how this all happens and plead to that. But you know what? How about I give you some research? Or better yet, how about I give you a researcher? Now, there's been a TED Talk that has always stuck with me for many, many years. It's Brené Brown, and she talks about vulnerability. I think this TED Talk appeared in 2010, so it's a bit of an oldie, but it's still really, really, really insightful beyond belief. And don't worry, I've included the link in the show notes so you don't have to look at it. Now, this TED Talk that she did in 2010 with Brené Brown, it has over 36 million views. It's really amazing. But what it is, it's honestly just a 20-minute video. It even has subtitles if you just want to put it on mute. And I think I've shared this TED Talks with so many people. It's just crazy. But anyways, let me tell you a bit about Brene Brown and why she's actually really interesting. She actually is a researcher, and she actually studies human connection. Now, the short story is, so I don't give away everything, is that she went into research to prove a certain thesis. And in the middle of this thesis, when all the results of the research was coming back, she basically had a meltdown because she didn't know what to do with the data. Like, the data was not proving her thesis. Her data was going the opposite direction. So she didn't know what to do with all this stuff because it was going in a completely opposite direction. Like, you gotta listen to the TED Talks because first of all, it's really, mind blowing. But second of all, it's really humorous because she's an absolutely amazing speaker. Anyways, she talks about how fear and shame is why we disconnect from things. And she had studied people that were the happiest people on earth from different countries, different religions, different backgrounds, different age groups, different genders, you name it. She went and studied all those things. And one of the things that she found was it's because they were open to being vulnerable and not afraid to be themselves that's why they were the happiest. Now, there's a lot more other details behind all of it. I'm just summarizing some of the key things. But they were just themselves, their true, authentic self, full of flaws and happier because anyone that saw and accepted their so-called flaws, they saw that that's what also made them so unique and special. Now, this kind of reminds me back to when in South Africa, I was traveling a lot and working out there with my buddy Paul. And one of the things, I love lobster. I absolutely love lobster. And my friend Paul knew that, and it took forever. Like, I think it took us a couple of months before I finally opened up as to why I never ordered lobster. I just don't like taking it out of the shell. That's what it was all about. And anyways, I was so mortified and embarrassed to tell him this story that I can't look at the victim in the eye while I'm pulling out the meat and stuff like that. And he laughed so hard and he goes, "That is exactly what makes you so special." And I remember those words to this day. So, Paul, thank you so much for that. That's what I want to say. I don't want to give everything away, but I really want to leave you some quotes about some things. Is that all of our flaws and our uniqueness is what actually makes us even more special. All the frown lines, all the scars. We got stories to tell about what happened and where we got to, and that's amazing. So there's a couple of quotes that I thought were amazing that I wanted to share. And, this is really, from one of her books. I mean, actually, in fact, if I tell you a bunch of her topics of her books, it kind of gives you a flavor for who she is. So the one is about daring greatly, how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And then there's another book she's got, Dare to Leave, Brave Work, Tough Conversation, Whole Hearts. That's another amazing book. A third book is that she's got Rising Strong, how the ability to reset transformation, the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And then, of course, The Power of Vulnerability, the teachings of being authentic, connection, and courage. I mean, okay, so you kind of get the flavor of what she's talking about. And she's actually a really well-known speaker that, speaks everywhere in the world. So really, what we're talking about is that connection. Vulnerability gives us connection. So one of the quotes that she says in her book is that vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want to greater clarity in our purpose or deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. Okay, I get it. You might want to pause, rewind that a bit. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I think it's really powerful. So basically she's saying vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity, which is crazy. And now with a quote and research like that, who doesn't want that in their lives, right? The love, the joy, courage, creativity, that sense of belonging. It's kind of a little mind-blowing that this vulnerability creates that path to it. So it's kind of weird, right? So I open up about my darkest secrets, I open up about my things, and I get a greater connection. Well, it kind of makes sense, right? That allows people to kind of get a deeper sense of who you are and where you're going and what those things are. And honestly, everybody I meet in life that they truly want to help. They just don't know how to help. They don't know what it is that we need help with. So it's really great about how vulnerability can actually be such a big source of strength for each and every one of us. Which leads me to part 2 of our tale. She also had another quote from her book, Daring Greatly. And okay, I'm going to read it, but I'll read it slow, so don't worry. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Now, think about that. Our imperfect selves is when we get the true belonging. I think that is like seriously craziness, right? Like it is really, truly beautiful. I think that's why this whole thing about it being authentic and this topic, and it's getting overused of a word, that's for sure, but it's actually saying, be a little bit more transparent and open about it so people can understand if they share the same values as you and they can connect on a value basis as opposed to a superficial basis that, you're constantly selling something and constantly doing those things. You look at the Kardashians of the world, they're always pushing something, but do we really get a chance to really know them? Even on their show, is that really them or is that truly curated? Right? So you don't get to see that. And I think that's where the growth of this Facebook videos and Instagram videos has come from, that people are sharing parts of their lives to show them the level of who they are, that transparency, and give them a little bit of a glimpse of to get to know them a little bit better. I know I got to do a better job at that myself. Like, I always hide behind the microphone, but I am doing a lot more of these Instagram stories and Facebook stories. I'm not afraid to do those things. Usually my problem is time, or second of all, I still don't understand all the functionalities behind how to post these things. So that's pretty much what it really is, but I'll figure it out. But I want to talk about this one film that I'm absolutely obsessed about, The Greatest Showman on Earth. I don't know if you've heard this movie or heard this music or the soundtrack. The storyline is absolutely amazing. Okay, so if you need more convincing as to why you should watch it, it's got Hugh Jackman, and let's be clear, he is definitely dreamy in my books. So anyways, let me just tell you about the movie. The Greatest Showman on Earth is a movie about an entrepreneur that brought a circus to life. And this is way back when. And so basically the idea was the circus kind of brought the extra to the ordinary. And it really is a feel-good movie. Like, I have to confess, I think I've seen this movie about 10 times, probably more than that. Every time I got on an airplane and I saw it on there, I think I probably pressed it to watch it. It's just such a great movie. There's just so many messages. It's definitely a family film that you can watch. Now, in fact, I was telling my middle sister, we were at Santa's Village this summer about the movie. Okay, yeah, I get what I just said. Santa's Village in the summer sounds really weird. It's another story for another day, but I was telling you that I was telling her about how this movie is really great for all ages. And then these 3 random girls, I think 2 of them worked at Santa's Village, and then one of them just happened to be in the line where we were at, started to jump in on the conversation and went on and on about this movie. In fact, I think if I'm just going to guess their ages, they're about 13, maybe 15, maybe 18 years old. But they started telling my sister about how great this movie is and how it shows that our weaknesses are our actual strengths. And we need to stop looking at it from a different perspective of, that our weaknesses are our weaknesses and we should hide, that we should look at it as our strength. And this girl goes on, and I think she was about 18, around this one song called This Is Me. Now, I will confess, again, I am addicted to this song. It is so powerful. And, it's just one of those remarkable songs that has just become its own type of anthem itself. It's just grown by nature. Like, there's a huge following, and it has become a really powerful anthem. Now, this song, This Is Me, is about, how you need to be courageous. And you know what? Whatever you think is your weakness, it's actually your strength. And it doesn't matter, because this is who I am. It doesn't matter. And when you think about where the time is that we are now, that we've got the Me Too movement, they talk about diversity and inclusion and all those things. This has become an actual anthem. Don't worry, I'll put the song from YouTube in the show notes so you can take a listen to it. It's really cool. So I started doing some more research because I couldn't believe that there were so many people that also felt the same way about the song. Like, it really is one of those songs that has your veins just pumping with courage. There's that one song that you get that you just got to put it on because it just gives you that strength. This is a song for me, and apparently this is a song for many others. In fact, Variety.com actually listed this song as the anthem for outcasts, the bullied, the marginalized, the disfranchised. And it goes on and on about how how all of us at one point of our lives, whether it was back in high school or in our adult lives or in our jobs or whatever, we all feel a little displaced sometimes, and we don't know how to fit in or whatever it was. It's such a crazy song. Like, there was so many studies and research and articles and movies that, have been actually featuring this. Like, even CNN did a feature about this. IndieWire named this song the ultimate anthem. The songwriters were quoted to say that they actually wanted the song to represent these people who have lived their whole lives in the shadows. And that's exactly what the song did. It is. Anyways, I'll put the song in there. And we remember that feeling of shadows, right? It's that feeling we've had in life sometimes, that you're just not making impact. You're disappearing before your eyes. You're on autopilot. And this is where that email from the lady really made me think more and more about it. Now that we know that the research has shown that being vulnerable is a good thing, and we need to figure out what exactly do we want to show people, or what do we want to be vulnerable about? As we get a little bit older, we kind of tend to lose that inner child in us. And in fact, when listen to episode, I think it's 53 with Ariel, I'll put that in the link, she talks about how she's created this innovation culture at Muse. And one of the things they do is that they have created a culture inside of there that you can actually jam to music. And they have a music little studio, so you can pick up a guitar. I went to Slalom Consulting Canada, and they actually have, Guitar Hero sitting right there. And more companies are trying to get people to tap into their inner child, because they know that they're trying to stimulate innovation into their companies, and they need people to feel relaxed and at home, and that they want to be there, not the mundane 9-to-5 job. Like, if they want those ideas, they need to stimulate those ideas. So, whenever people tell me that they've been a little bored or they don't know where to go, and they just, I keep laughing, because I remember that feeling. But more importantly, that's where I started the podcast from, was just that I was a podcast junkie, and I loved it. And I loved the experience I was getting. And you name it, I was listening to, I don't know how many, and I still listen to so many all the time. But I made that decision at that moment. I'm like, I want to know more. I want to know if I could do it. And again, I honestly went through my own imposter syndrome of thinking, can I do it? Can I not do it? And sure enough, I can't believe I'm about to have a 1-year anniversary party of putting out this. And I've created a community of people that are just, love learning from other people. And the amount of entrepreneurs and innovators out there that are so open to sharing their success stories, but more importantly, sharing their mistakes. Oh, I love it. I love how they always are so open to do that. So I just wanted to kind of touch base, as 2018 is nearly over and a new year is around the corner, we do start thinking about resolutions. What if I proposed that your New Year resolution was that you tried something totally new? In fact, something that maybe you've always wanted to try. Maybe it's something that your inner giant or child used to think about and dream about. Maybe. Mine is to publish a book. I've always wanted to. In fact, I remember years ago, I was in a pub in London with my friend Natasha, and I said, I would love to write a choose your own adventure story, because I just think they're just so phenomenal. And I forgot, and I wanted to write kids' books. I just wanted to write. And, which is kind of funny, because my dad laughs about this all the time, because long story short, when I was in high school, my grammar was terrible. Actually, my grammar is still terrible. Anyways, somehow I used to keep getting A's in English in high school, and my dad actually challenged the teacher to say, how can you give her an A? And the teacher had to downgrade my grade. It's unbelievable that, yes, because my grammar is terrible. But I know my grammar and my writing is not the barrier. There are editors out there that can help me with my areas of weaknesses. And this goes the same for all of us. All of those barriers that we kind of put up, the buts and we can do it. Honestly, we should take the attitude of why not, and see what are those barriers and identify what those things are that we're going to need help in, and you can get that. And in fact, I actually had one of the guys from Work Tango actually teaching at, he came to be a speaker at one of my classes at George Brown, where I teach Introduction to Management Consulting, and I wanted to bring him in for multiple reasons. One, to talk about the global HR trends and stuff like that. But what he shared was even more powerful, that he's built a technology company with his co-founder, but neither of them actually from the tech space. And all of us, including the students, we were all flabbergasted because we're like, what? You're not a technologist and you built a tech company? It was crazy because, again, he recognized he had a vision of something that he wanted to do, and he recognized all the different barriers that were going to actually prevent him, and he mitigated those risks by coming up and saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to find some money to hire someone that can build it for us. And that's exactly what they did. So anyways, I thought I would create a little worksheet that I had prepared, and this is something I actually used on myself, and I've actually been sharing with my students about what to do when I was trying to kind of think about what my next adventure was going to be, what I was going to wanted to try, what was new in my world that, I think we get used to that same spice rack. I was like, can I put that metaphor together? Just kept making different dishes with the same spices. But who knew that I could actually use a different set of spices? Just to be clear, I am using spices as a metaphor for tools and techniques, but if I could use different spices to create something and I could use the same dishes, it's kind of a different experience altogether. So you don't have to stretch too far outside the box to start this, journey itself. You just need to start somewhere of something new to do, and you never know what can happen. So anyways, I'm going to share it all y'all, and it'll be in the show notes, so you can just click and link and go nuts and try it out. But I wanted to make sure that I did this because I went through it, but more importantly, you guys, if you've been listening to the podcast a lot, I'm kind of really doing everything in life for my nephew and my nieces, because one day I know that they are going to go through it, and it may be around or may not be around, but I'm really hoping that somebody will sit there and give them the same guidance. So really, I'm doing this kind of to pay it future forward, if that's kind of a word. So don't worry, the worksheet's free, no charge, no nothing. I'm giving it to you, the tools and techniques that I use for myself. I shared with many different people, but some of my students, some of the people I coach and mentor and so on. It's been used quite a few times. So let me know your thoughts and feedback. So anyways, it's going to be there. So like I said, as 2018 is nearly over, it's time to perhaps think about some new things where you can innovate your own lives itself. So take a try. You've got nothing to lose, but lots to gain. And since I've been quoting way too many quotes from movies, from the researchers, I can't believe how many things I've said. But I just want to leave you with this. And I got this from a movie called We Bought a Zoo with Matt Damon. The movie was okay, but it's Matt Damon. What can I say? But he actually says that all you need is 20 seconds of courage. So that's it. Download that workbook. Take the 20 seconds of courage. Write down and go ahead and brainstorm up all the things that you wish you could do, or you wanted to try, or you saw in your childhood that you used to dream about. Put it all in there. It's going to be great. And I'll close with one other different quote. Of course, I'll do it from Brene Brown. I think I should probably get royalties from her. Anyways, what she says is, vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they are never weaknesses. So remember that, guys. I can't wait to hear about all these new recipes you're about to create, all the new things you're about to have. And remember, the world needs more people like us. Real people, real struggles, real victories, just real. So do it. I can't wait to hear from you guys. Have a great one. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And next week, I got another really fun episode. You'll be surprised at the topics we're going to cover. But anyways, in the meantime, you don't have to wait till next week to connect with us. You can connect with us always on all the different social media links. You can even send us a review. That's another great place to give feedback. And of course, our new newsletter that has tons of new golden nuggets and of course, discounts galore. Actually, our tools section of the website also have it. And please feel free to nominate another innovator out there. And I can't wait to talk to you next week.